so as many of you all as possible, come on up here to the front and stand up here versus the exit. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Please stand.
Hey, I need to get a break now.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now to the Texas flag.
I pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Ladies and gentlemen, this project is one of the biggest threats to Montgomery County. One, two. Is that better?
A lot better.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the biggest threats to Montgomery County that I have seen in many, many years. Not just West Montgomery County. And by the way, we have two appraisers here that will talk about the assessed valuation decreases. Once those decreases take place, if this train hits this route in Montgomery County, the entirety of Montgomery County will pay the tax differential to make up for the loss. It is extreme, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get right to the program. And we have some elected officials. I want to really thank y'all for coming tonight. First, we have a statement to be read on behalf of our newest state senator, Brandon Creighton. I forgot who was going to read it.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to first thank all of you for coming out tonight. We got quite the turnout, so maybe if we can get y'all out to all the debates next election season, that would be nice. Okay, I have a statement from Senator Creighton. He could not make it tonight. He really would have liked to have been here in front of you and spoken the words himself. But he had to say on this topic, the federal government has reached a new low in their regards for states' rights. The Dallas-Houston high-speed rail proposed by the Texas Central Railway threatens to confiscate up to 3,000 acres of Texas land and won't provide any opportunity for economic growth in our district. Without allowing input from local elected officials and hearing the voices of Montgomery County residents, I have no choice but to oppose this proposal. Texans stand together. And as Texans who own property in Montgomery County, we should all know that we won't have to face the federal government alone. As a native Texan, a rancher, and a firm believer in private property rights, Senator Creighton stands with Texas landowners. His office is working hard to bring federal, state, and local officials together, along with community leaders, to stay engaged and involved in the issue until our community can be assured this project will be beneficial to the families of Southeast Texas or stopped in its tracks. Thank you all.
Next, we have our newest state representative. We have quite a few new state reps. Mark. Please welcome State Representative Will Metcalf.
Thank you all very much for being here tonight. Missed session to be here with you this evening, and Mark Keogh just drove in. Mark, thank you for being here. And all I can say is this is amazing. I'm personally not a happy camper right now for the way that TCR has a lack of transparency in this process. I first found out about this a few weeks ago, right after the first of the year, and in my opinion, that's not okay whenever other officials in the federal government have known about this for a while. I believe that local officials and state officials should have known before this all was coming. So appreciate everybody who was involved in getting this meeting together tonight. And I'll give you a little update from what I know. First of all, one of the first meetings I had as an elected official was with TCR, and his name was Mr. Travis Kelly. He was their Vice President of Government Relations. And he came to my office about 2 weeks ago, and it was a bunch of stuff I already knew. He didn't tell me anything I didn't already know by the research that me and my staff have already done. So that meeting did not go very well. Needless to say, they're moving forward, and we need your help. This is a federal issue. I would love to stand here and say, look, you elected me, you elected Senator Nichols, Senator Creighton, Representative Keogh, Representative Bell, and we can stop this train. But we're going to do our best. If we pass the law tomorrow, we believe that federal law would preempt this. But we're going to do our best. We're there to fight for y'all. We're going to do everything we can. But we made 300 copies of a handout that we gave out tonight, and Angela, my district director, said that we ran out a long time ago. But at the bottom of that sheet gives an update of what we're all doing, but at the bottom of that, it says who we need to contact. And I'm just telling you something, guys. Montgomery County, we're all joined together. We're unstoppable. So this is the beginning. I appreciate everybody who's being here tonight, but having said that, we need to call Congressman Brady's office. We need to call Senator Ted Cruz's office and Senator John Cornyn's office, because this is at the federal level. Another issue I have, besides a lack of transparency in this, is they have eminent domain power. And I personally do not believe that private enterprise should have eminent domain power. This is scary, and this goes to show you how important the 10th Amendment is. The Federal Railroad Administration is maybe possibly going to stamp their seal of approval of this project. After it goes to the Federal Railroad Administration, it's going to go, they're going to put up an environmental impact statement for the two proposed routes. One route is right through our heartland. Another one misses Montgomery County entirely. After that, after the project is finalized, it goes to the Surface Transportation Board at the federal level. That is where the eminent domain power comes into effect. So, but don't wait for that. That is going to happen. If things start moving, keep moving the way they are, that will be mid to late of 2016. That's too soon, but I don't want this at all, in my opinion. So get your congressmen and your senators up now, because it's never too early to start. In regards to the 10th Amendment, I talked about this a lot during my campaign, and we're living it here today. This is why we're in this room today, because the federal overreach, they're bypassing us at the state, the county, and that is not okay. The 10th Amendment is something for states' rights, and they're just bypassing us. That is not okay. I believe in private property rights, and as I said before, private enterprise should not have eminent domain power that only benefits a select few. Again, thank you for being here tonight, and my phone number and information is out there. We made 300 copies, and I'm so sorry we didn't make 500. But this is great. Thank you all for being here. We're going to do everything we can to stop this thing, but as I said, this is a great start, and a united Montgomery County can help stop this fight.
Thank you, Will. One thing that scares me about this project is what the TCR has going for them. Number one, they have $10 billion in the bank. Number two, they have the right of eminent domain already. Number three, the Obama administration is in short behind this project. They want to see high-speed rail in the United States of America.
Boo!
Yes. But like Representative Metcalf said, if we stand together, we will win in Montgomery County. We are too strong. We have great elected officials. We have strong elected officials. We will stand firm. Next, we have State Representative Mark Keogh. Please welcome him.
I came here tonight, we left the House of Representatives early. The Breeding family, you should know, is grieving tonight over the loss of their daughter, first responder, 21-year-old. We were at the viewing this evening, and I know that your hearts are with them as well. So Jason, my chief, and I, we came over here, and the purpose of our visit was I'm in House District 15. I'm right next to you. And what I have found since taking office, the relationship that we have with Cecil, with Will, Craig, Commissioner Nowak, the others, first responders, the police, Montgomery County, as you said it, will not let this happen. This is unbelievable what has taken place. And I'm here today as just to show you that there is other groups that are not immediately affected by this, that are done with the government overreach. One of the reasons why I ran, why Cecil has done this, why your representatives have your senators, and we are here and we're with you tonight. That's why we came here. Thank you all very much.
Next, we have with us the newest county judge in Montgomery County. His name happens to be County Judge Craig Doyal, who took my place.
Thank you all for being here tonight. And anybody that says that people don't care what happens in their community hasn't been in Montgomery, Texas. We're proud to see each and every one of you here. I'm proud to stand and give yourselves a hand for being here. I'm proud to stand with each and every one of the elected officials that are here tonight in opposition to this project. We've got letters that were signed by all of our legislative delegation. We've got resolutions passed by our Commissioners Court in opposition to this project. You know, the concern I have is a project like this can come through and cut private property, can cut ranch land in half, can create obstructions for us as we build roads in the future. They say no tax dollars will be involved. That's not true because we have to cross that line. It's going to cost you and I that much more money to cross a project like this. So you will find that there's plenty of opposition here in Montgomery County. We're going to do everything that we can working together. It makes me proud to see our entire Commissioners Court is here tonight. And everyone else. Representative Keogh said this project may not touch each and every one of them, but it touches you, so it matters to us. So we're going to work hard every day. We're going to ask you to start writing letters and making contacts, just like we will together, to make sure that we do everything we can to ensure that Montgomery County stays strong, that we protect the natural beauty that is Montgomery County, and we protect the private property rights as we know. So thank you for being here tonight. We're going to work hard every way we can to protect you, and I look forward to working hand in hand with the rest of these guys to make sure this project goes another point. Thank you.
Sure, go ahead.
Judge, would you support Montgomery County hiring attorneys we needed to help, help fight this issue?
We'll put our county attorneys on that.
And then the next thing, it was mentioned earlier, if this thing does go through by some chance, have you started making some kind of plans of how you're going to replace these lost revenues from all these property values that go down?
Well, our first round is going to make sure it doesn't get here.
Well, I'll go with that.
Next, we have a longtime commissioner that I had the privilege of working with for 22 years. Please welcome Commissioner Mike Meador.
We're proud. You mess with Montgomery County, is what you get, right? I want to thank, I don't even know who to thank for putting this together tonight. The contact that I've had is Judy Foster. I know the Hanovers were involved. I know I'm leaving a lot of people out because it's a huge effort. But I really, really appreciate you taking the effort to put this together and bringing this to the forefront of everybody's attention.
I follow a lot of good speakers and leaders. They've said most of it. This is a project that kind of came up out of nowhere, but we've not been still. Commissioner's Court, and again, I'm like Craig, Judge Doyal is now. The whole court team, I mean, East County, South County, West County, everybody's here. We're all against this thing, we're all for you. But the court did pass a resolution, not necessarily opposing the project. It told them that we didn't think it was a project that we could support. I think maybe we need to pass a new resolution, toughen it up a little bit. And Judge Doyal and I did send a letter out, and obviously we sent it to our representatives, our state senators. They're already on board, we know that. Our federal folks, senators, congressmen, that's the ones that we need to talk to. Our state legislators, they're with us all the way. I'll give you an idea. Here's the letter. Matter of fact, this was to Michael Johnson, lead environmental protection specialist from the Federal Railroad Administration. Dear Mr. Johnson, the letter was the same to everybody. We need your help. It's apparent that the Texas Central Rail project high-speed train from Houston to Dallas could become a reality. One of the routes slashes through Montgomery County in the western part of my precinct. The very idea that this project could possibly cut one of the fastest growing counties in the nation in half is insane. The negative impact from this most egregious project to Montgomery County and the constituents that will be affected is immeasurable. Growth will be stymied, property values will be affected, peaceful community quality of life will suffer greatly. We are your constituents and we need your help. Please assist us in stopping this project before it devastates one of the premier counties in the nation. This give you an idea of what we need to do. We need to wear them out. We need to fill up the mailbox. We need to fill up their email list. We need to be in. We let them know that we're aware. We know what's going on. And it is. I know it is a federal project, but they still listen to constituents. So, and we need to speak, and we need to speak very loudly. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question, are the other counties having protest meetings like this, or is it just Montgomery County and Grimes?
Well, that's an interesting comment, and I know Grimes County has. But they had public meetings. They had public meetings put on by the Railroad Commission, or the federal government. And that's part of the process that's flawed here. It's a huge project. A big part of it's environmental. Part of the environmental assessment project or process is public awareness, it's public meetings. We've not had one in Montgomery County. They had one in Tomball. That's not Montgomery County. That's Harris County. So that's a little thread maybe we can pick at to give us some time to react strongly, as I know we will. And again, thanks for...
There's groups already organizing up in Grimes and Leon County. I'm not saying people being gathered by public officials, but they've taken themselves from those meetings and now they've organized as groups to do all the things that have to be done to protest. Now, first thing, the budget went up to the hill today. You take the money out of the budget, they don't do the project. So think about that when you write to your representatives. Get the whole Texas delegation against it, or at least the Republicans.
Thank you. Thank you for your attendance tonight.
If you all would, please hold your questions till after the speeches. The speeches should be brief. We'll have plenty of time for questions. Next, probably the commissioner that it affects the most. It cuts through the entirety of Commissioner Precinct 2, probably more than anybody. Please welcome Commissioner Charlie Riley.
I want to thank everybody for being here. What a crowd. You know, I have not been in office very long, but I have been involved in Montgomery County for a long time, and I do know if you mess with Montgomery County or the folks in Montgomery or around Magnolia, you're going to get pushed back. I can promise you that. And we are going to push back. You know, Commissioner Meador said it a while ago, and Judge Sadler just got through saying, this thing runs right through the middle of my precinct, and I have not even had the courtesy of a phone call or any kind of acknowledgement from these folks. They have not tried to get a hold of us that I know of at any time. So whatever we need to do to stay united, to stay strong, I guarantee you, whatever it takes, we will support anything we got to do to make sure this doesn't happen. I'm in Magnolia. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll do anything I can to help anybody in Montgomery County. And let's stay strong and let's keep pushing back. That's what it's going to take. Thank you.
Next, we have the commissioner from the Woodlands, Precinct 3. It doesn't really go through the Woodlands, but it goes right next to the Woodlands. Please welcome Commissioner James Nowak.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And as Judge Doyle mentioned, just it's a good feeling to have the whole court up here together, showing a united front against this sort of what I would consider an attack. First thing I want to do is, Mike, I want to second your motion to oppose this rail, and we need to get that done right away. Next question I have is, where are those individuals that are leading this charge? Have you seen them here today? Is anybody here to listen to you? No. And that's the same type of response that we're getting. I want to know where they are, and I want them to understand that we believe in private property rights, and we're going to do everything we can to fight for you and keep your land in your family's name. How many of you have worked that land for generations, or you've owned it for years and years? Raise your hands, come on. Are we going to let somebody take our land? In the United States of America, and even more so in the state of Texas, we've got to stand up and we've got to show them that we know how to fight. This is nothing more than a land grab, which is going to take the land that our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents worked with their hands, and it's something that this community is not going to stand for. This also, it smells to me like just another boondoggle in the making. It smells private venture that is soon going to be deemed for public good, wanting to use your tax dollars. They're going to want our land and they're going to want our tax dollars for something that is going to benefit very few. So I'm proud to stand here with you today and join the fight to protect your property rights and to protect your tax dollars. And we'll do whatever we can to try to make certain that this train stops in its tracks. Thank you.
Another one of the new commissioners has been a friend of mine since 1992. From Precinct 4, please welcome Commissioner Jimbo Clark.
Sorry I'm running late, but East Montgomery County is way over there. So, you might ask what I would, Commissioner that is so far on the other side of the county, I've got more important things to do. And I'll tell you, the concerned citizen of East Montgomery County is pretty important. But I sent a representative to speak at my place tonight because I feel so strongly about this issue. And I'm just here to tell you folks, I'm begging you, don't think my neighbor will do it. A lot of you are going to leave here fired up. A lot of you are going to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I want you to promise me that you'll get out. It's hard to think about getting out a pen and paper anymore. We've got emails and all that stuff, but I want you to write letters. I want you to make the phone calls. I want you to send emails. I want you to inundate these people and let them know that Montgomery County is not going to allow the high-speed rail through our county. One of the practices I took on early in my business career was took the advice of one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, and he'd take out a piece of paper and he'd draw a line down the middle of it. And on one side he would put all the reasons for, on the other side he'd put the reasons against, then he'd weigh it out. There's about 7 sheets of paper here, folks. And I've got a whole bunch against, and I can't think one reason for. Let's stop this.
we have two appraisers here. Actually, we had the chief appraiser of the Montgomery County Appraiser District that will speak very briefly on the economic impact of appraised values. Mark Kessler-Schultz, where are you? Please welcome Mark Kessler-Schultz.
Well, it's not too often that I get invited someplace. This is kind of different. But it's early, is my wife. Value loss from any and all causes is what we're going to see here. We've already lost value by perception that this is going to go through. How much? It's almost immeasurable. You're going to have Mike Bowden talk to you a little bit later about what he's found out about what can happen. We're going to see value loss from current projects. We're going to see value loss from future projects. And you and I, and I'm a taxpayer too, we're all going to pay for that. It's going to shift the tax burden to every single citizen in Montgomery County due to the loss of initial value and the loss of future value of development. It's going to cost us to take care of the roads, ingress and egress to properties that have been split. That's also going to affect the value. How much? We're just now looking into that to try and get some numbers. Mike's had a little bit of a head start on us, but we're doing the same work that he's doing to try and identify that loss. How much could it be? The best method to identify loss is matched sales. A sale of a property before the event and a sale of property after the event. The problem is we're talking a lot of large properties. We don't know what their future worth is. But I can assure you that if this goes through, it will be substantially less than it could have been. And that's lost tax dollars, lost value, which equates to lost tax dollars, which we're going to have to pull out of our pockets. I am a taxpayer, first and foremost. I'm a husband, a father, a Christian, but I pay taxes. And the first person that calls me every year is my wife. I don't know why her value is. That's the truth. I'll tell you like I told her, I don't know what those people at the appraisal district are doing. But in all seriousness, we are going to see value loss. How much? We'll find out as we go through the process. But the best way to ensure we don't have value loss is to do the same thing I do every Monday morning to my elected officials in Washington. I send them an email, and I let them know how disappointed I am with them, or how proud I am of them. I do that every Monday morning without fail. And as I walk through the office, talking to staff, and they complain about things, I ask them one thing: have you let somebody know? And if you haven't, then sit down, go to work. But let them know. And that's everybody's responsibility here tonight. I wish I had more information, but I'm trying to keep it short. Thank you very much.
I'll make this kind of note. 802 people walked through the door tonight. Thank you all for coming. We expected 300. In fact, we hoped for 300. Next, we have another appraiser, a well-known residential appraiser here in town. Please welcome Mike Bowden.
Well, I'm the guy that you always call if you need an appraisal, like taxes, get a refinance, estimate your values because you don't know where they are. But in this case, I just want to give you an idea about what I think is going to happen. I've been here 30 years appraising my office in the Woodlands. I'm born and raised in Conroe. Live right out here. Been out in y'all's area for all these 30 years. But here's this eminent domain issue. What's going to happen is, first off, and I think we need to find the answer to this, is how they're going to take the land under eminent domain. What are they going to take? I've been in touch with appraisers in California. In Fresno, they are now working and have approved a high-speed rail that's going to go up from Fresno to San Francisco, some of you are nodding your heads, and down to LA. And they are taking the land now. They are not taking the right-of-way for the train. They're taking all the land on either side. Now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen here, but I think we need to find out. I talked to Mark about it, and if they're just going to take the right-of-way for X amount of feet and maybe a little extra buffer area, or in California, one of my appraisers here, Eric, he has already checked this out, large tracts, like 20, 30, 40 acres on either side, and then what are they doing with it? They're taking what they need for the rail, they're taking the buffer zone, the excess land that they took, which is yours, is then auctioned off. These are facts, this is what's going on there. That's a government issue. This is government related but private funding. So, you know, that's why I say it's important to find out on your land, what is it they're going to actually take? And that's how it's going to affect the appraised value. If we come in and do an appraisal for you to contest the value that they give you under eminent domain, we're going to need to know what they took. And if you have any residual. Say you got 40 acres in a house and they take 33 and leave you 7. What's that do to the whole thing? So it's complicated. Every appraisal that we do, if we do some for you, will be specific to your own needs, but you'll need to know what they're taking and how it's going to have a proximity to your home, whether it's going to cut it down the middle, flip it on the side. Eminent domain, what are they going to do? They're going to come to you, they're going to give you an offer. There's going to be an appraiser come from the railroad company and give you an offer. Then you're going to look at it. If you don't like it, then you have to call me or somebody like me to come out and do appraisal of the property under question. Then you go to get the appraisal, you take it to a mediation, and you mediate. Now you say, I'm not going to settle, I want this amount. What Mike gave. I don't want what they gave. Then they're going to condemn your property. And that is when you're going to have to take the offer and then get your money and sue for the difference that you think is there. Now, if anybody has a better explanation of this, speak up, because this is the way I understand it to be. On my team that I have put together to try to help everybody here, that's why we're here. I've got a commercial appraiser, I've got an attorney, I've got 2 or 3 appraisers on my staff, and we're here to help you. But that's under the assumption that we can't stop it. Because if you can't, this is what's going to happen, and you're going to have to get an appraisal, you're going to have to look at the process, you're going to see what they take. But I think for the county commissioners, the biggest and important point here is that we need to figure out or get an answer from them as to what they're taking and how they're taking it. So that's extremely important to the overall valuation of each individual property in here, is to find out what they're taking. Then left over would be the proximity of your improvements, the residual land. And there is also one other point, I'll be brief here, but there's one more. It's called inverse condemnation. What that means is that they take your land and your brother's land is right next door to yours, but they didn't take it. But it's directly affected by the overall taking of your land, the value line. Inverse condemnation, there's a condemnation factor that is legal there, and they have to go and negotiate that with the same people that took your land even though they didn't take their land. So, I'm not a lawyer, don't take me as legal advice here. My data's pretty accurate. Check this out. And if you have any questions, we've got an appraiser here with me, and anybody else here hopefully can answer some questions. But we're here to help you. I've got cards, I've got a flyer back there. If you need any information, you can start to pick up the phone and call me. But not good news, but that's the way I see it, okay?
I've got one quick question for Mike. I know this is out of line, but I'm running the show. Mike, what do you see as, talking to the appraisers in California, what did you see in the range of the decrease in value?
Well, they haven't got to the point. They haven't got to the point yet of being able to determine it because of exactly what these officials were talking about. That they do not have a data set, what Mark was talking about, to extract a supportable, credible loss in value in regard to their appraisal districts out. They did say that the appraisal districts were not prepared to come in and do the assessments. They're delayed. They're trying to get their act together. But they didn't take the proper procedures to get ready for it if it happened. And they fought it out there too. But it happened. That is a government organization. But as for valuations here, it could be zero if you have a leftover landlocked tract. It could be 75, 80%. It may not be very much at all. It depends on your individual property and how that property is affected, the configuration, access, things that we've talked about here. And Mark, you can back me up on all of this, on how we come in and take a look at these values. And each person's property here is going to have a different scenario, different outcome, and different scope of work in order to produce a value. Every one of it, whether it's commercial, residential. One other point, since one other point. Now, in California, what they did, they took city blocks, or they go out in the country too, but they started in a little town, Fresno, and they've got a city block with a whole bunch of businesses here and a whole bunch over here. And they take all of it. They will run the train here. But these businesses have got through streets for access to the front of the business. Now with the train coming down the middle, the through street is now a cul-de-sac and a dead end. So even if they didn't take it and it was on the end down here, the through street people aren't coming down there like they used to, so you have a loss in business as a residual because of the fact you don't have a street down there. You can't go through it anymore. So, but to answer your question, it's hard to figure out exactly how it's going to work on each person's value, but I expect it to be significant in many cases. Okay?
Thank you. Next we have Jennifer Lorenz with the Bioland Conservancy. Jennifer, where are you?
I want to first say that I'm not a Montgomery County resident, but I'm a fifth-generation native Texan, and I have to tell you that I can't be here on behalf of my organization today to say that we are against high-speed rail. What I am here tonight to tell you is that we are stakeholders in this county through this area because we have what are called conservation easements all over this area, including on Lake Creek. And so what we do is we permanently protect land forever. That is our mission, and we are the largest regional, what's called a conservation easement holder in the entire state of Texas. Much of this land is along the Spring Creek Greenway, which, in case you didn't know, is the longest urban forested contiguous greenway in the entire country. So you can imagine if this is going to cross any of that, we're going to have something to say about it, not just because we care about wildlife habitat or protection of wetlands, but Bioland Conservancy has tied up millions of dollars of what's called wetland mitigation. So if you impact wetlands somewhere, which by the way, this high-speed rail would absolutely be affecting unbelievable amounts of wetlands. If you do that, you have to mitigate. So we have pulled and pooled millions of dollars into this region. And one of the things that we can tell you, and I can feel very strongly telling you here, we are wetland experts. And I have personally been all over thousands of acres, from Angelina County to Galveston County, Robertson County to Jefferson County. And what you have here in this area, particularly along Lake Creek, are some of the most important wetlands in the state of Texas, right here. You have 200, and this is important information for all of you. We have fought and won, by the way, eminent domain cases across some of our conservation easements in other areas, so you should know this. Having us as a partner with you is key, because we are all about the environmental impacts. All of you here today care very much about your own personal land and your neighbors, and you should. But there's a bigger picture here that I would love for you to all think about as you're writing your letters, which is the environmental impact, that environmental assessment that needs to go, which is to say, is this the best place to go? We have already written our letters which say no. And one of the main reasons we say that is there's 13 watersheds that feed Lake Houston, 13 of them. It's one of the biggest watershed regions in the entire country. 13 watersheds, one of them is Lake Creek. Out of the 13 watersheds that feed Lake Houston, Lake Creek is the only clean water source pouring down. It's the only one. Right there, in our estimation, was one of the main reasons that this should not go through here. E. coli. It's hard to say this word in a room of 800 people, but the word is E. coli, and you need to write it down. E. coli is what is in all of these other watersheds. The other 12, okay, that are feeding Lake Houston, they're all high. They're all pinging super high for lots of reasons. And here, Lake Creek, because of its very, very, very wide floodplain, right? You don't have a skinny floodplain. It's really wide. So for lots of reasons, we know that that's clean, but we also think it's because of lots of people in this room, particularly those wearing hats, that are working their land properly and taking care of it. That's one of the reasons it's so clean. So we believe that rural land ownership is incredibly important. I know that many of you did not get the sheet, and I can tell you that I definitely underestimated how many brochures to bring. This is on our website. If you didn't get our name, please write it down. All of the information, you can contact us. It's bayoulandconservancy.org. We have both public, Judge Sadler knows that we have an easement in his area. We are going to fight tooth and nail if this is going to plow through that, because it was donated to the county for wetland mitigation, and it's our job to protect it forever. But if you're a private landowner, we wrote a letter for our private landowner who got one of these letters. We banged that out in 2 days. We would be happy, even if you don't have a conservation easement on your land, and we would be happy to help you get one on your land. If you don't, please write us, and we will help give you the words that these folks need to see, because it does need to be environmental assessment. Thanks.
Great information, by the way. Kyle Workman he started the Against High-Speed Rail effort in the state of Texas. Kyle, welcome.
Good evening. I certainly don't deserve that distinction, but I guess I'll take it. And I certainly couldn't do it without my lovely wife over here, who does a lot of the research for me. What I'd like to do real quick is run through a few things and share our thoughts, and then we'll move on to the question and answer a bit. First of all, the purpose of No Texas HSR, which is the website that my wife and I administer, is to gather and disseminate information. Just like you, we found out about this late in the process. The information has obviously been unclear. I think you're all familiar with that. And so we've been doing what we can to try to coagulate that information into a method and a madness to it so that you can understand it. And we try to do the best we can with our blog to share kind of the read between the lines stuff. Also, we are supporting local opposition efforts all over the place. And to answer one of the questions we got earlier, from Ellis County down to Montgomery County, there's not very many people that are for this project. So we all need to stand together. And that's one of the things I wanted to share is that we need to stand together. I know you guys are focused on Montgomery County, but if it's not good for Montgomery County, it's not good for anyone. Okay? And I live in Leon County, and I don't want this going through my property anymore than I want it to go through your property. And so I think one thing that's important that we all do is not just stand together as individual counties, we stand together as a region, and then ultimately I think we're going to have to stand together as a state, because as I will talk about here in just a second, there's a bigger picture to all of this that we all need to keep in mind. So part of what we've been doing as far as our research has to do with TXDOT, and to the extent this is a federal issue, I agree, but this is also a state issue. TXDOT has been involved in high-speed rail for a long time. There's things called state-wide rail plans and state ridership assessments that have all been done by TXDOT. And they kind of fly under the radar. We've been to 5 of the scoping meetings, and they're quiet, and they're sitting back in the corner. But at the end of the day, our state, through TXDOT, maybe not through our elected officials, has been a supporter, if not a passive supporter, of this type of projects. And so we need to keep in mind that they're constantly seeking and securing federal grants. Now, this is not something the feds are shoving down our throat necessarily in some cases. TXDOT is going out looking for the money. And they're coming back and they're saying, hey, now we've got $15 million, let's go study this rail line. And then they go out and ask for more money, and they go study that rail line. Just to be clear, there's at least 2 other EIS, the environmental impact statements, underway currently. Oklahoma to South Texas, Dallas to Fort Worth, and then they're in the process of getting the EIS started for the Fort Worth to Austin line. Okay? So this is the Texas Triangle, remember that? Trans-Texas Corridor, Texas Triangle? It's the same stuff, we're just going to come at it a different way this time. We're not going to call it the Trans-Texas Corridor, we're not going to call it the Texas Triangle, we're going to do it individual, and we're going to make it through these private type discussions. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is the state has some unique ideas here in order to try to make it more palatable for those of us that are paying attention now, finally. They're using innovative ridership studies. One of the things we found here recently was that they're now adding they're adding New Mexico and Arkansas, Louisiana to the ridership models, to the state of Texas. Under the same, and there's not enough data in those states, so they just apply the same modeling techniques that they do in Texas to those states. So you have to keep in mind that Texas, again, what I'm trying to say here is that TXDOT is actively seeking these projects and actively involved in them. So we've all talked about it. There's a million different reasons why this project's not good from a local perspective, but it's also not good from a state perspective. If you've had a chance to look at it, I encourage you to go look at the Reason Foundation. They've done a study on high-speed rail in the United States, and they give all the reasons why that we all know instinctively that high-speed rail is not good in the state or in the United States. We don't get a lot of cars, we're not that densely populated, all those different things. They kind of put that information in a way for you to understand very clearly. So I encourage you to look at that. So in closing, I want you to remember a few things. Number one, there is a third option. We've talked about this at the scoping meetings that FRA was putting on. The third option is the no-build option. Okay, it's not good for Montgomery County. Like I said, it's not good for Leon County. It's not good to be pushed to grind. It's not good to be pushed anywhere else. So we need to make sure that when we're communicating with our elected officials and with the FRA, we're talking about the no-build option. Do not bring this to us. Because just because this goes down I-45 right away, if they were to move it to there, there's still going to be the boondoggle problem. There's still going to be the state taxpayer funding at the end of the day. At some point, the numbers just do not add up. Again, we just ask that you put your support behind the opposition to HSR wherever it is, in whatever form it is, in whatever route they take. Okay? It doesn't matter. If it's bad for you, it's bad for somebody else, and we all have to stand together. We're Texans. This is it. Right? This is our time to do that. So I'll leave you my closing statement. I know I've said that twice. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay? This is a long-term strategy. It's a long-term deal that's going to have to take time and effort. So while we all appreciate everybody running out and writing letters, do not forget that you're going to have to do that for a long period of time. Okay? I talk kind of fast. I want to make sure I didn't burn up all my time. But remember, marathon, not a sprint. That's what I have. Thank you. Talking about, it's going to take a big effort. But here's the other side of the coin. Let's play devil's advocate here. these people that are planning to put this in Montgomery County and all these other counties, I would expect they know that this stuff is going to happen right here. And they've probably got lawyers and something already set up on the other side. And so they're expecting some sort of resistance here. If you Google these high-speed rails, not only here, but across the country, the proposed rails are everywhere. They're coming to Florida, Montana, Colorado, all of California. They're on the way. And those people in those places are going to be doing the same thing you're doing here. And so if Montgomery County is going to win here, in my opinion, you've got to get the rail to move. And not, because it's probably going to happen somehow. And that's just reality. But you know, but not here. Take your strength of Montgomery County and move the damn thing over here in another area. The reason they didn't come down the freeway, because the freeway had too many curves and it wasn't straight. That's why they're not stopping in the woodlands. But I'm just saying, you're going to have to be strong, just as these people are talking about here, and put it together and get it to move somewhere else. That's it.
It needs to be stopped.
No, stop.
Are you saying that other people's property is not as important?
Oh, well, I'm saying that that's not true. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, I think what's going to happen here is that it's probably, you know, if they get, you got to get it to stop somehow. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Now it's question and answer. If I didn't answer the question, I know these elected officials can. Do we have any questions tonight?
How do you find out exactly where the proposed routes are? Because the maps aren't legible, the ones I've been able to
That's
see.
the best we can do is right back there on that wall.
The maps are on their website, but they don't put the roads, so it does make it difficult to see where they are. But if you go to DallasHoustonHSR.com, you'll see what they have.
All right, if I could, before we open up the question and answer time, I'd like to back up what you were saying. My staff, along with Representative Keogh's staff, and I believe Senator Nichols' staff, Craig's staff, and Cecil Bell's staff, met with General Weber with TXDOT. He is the executive director of TXDOT, and he has assured us that no state funds are being used for this project. Having said that, of course, people's salaries taking up time, that is, but in regards to millions and billions of dollars being spent at TXDOT's level, researching this, from our conversation with General Weber, that's not the case. I know Senator Nichols is transportation chairman over at the Senate, and he is not for this project either. I don't want to speak for him, but we have a united front for your delegation here in Montgomery County. And in regards to Commissioner Riley, what he was saying, how TCR had not contacted his office, it took him 2 weeks for them to call me back to schedule a meeting. They didn't come seeking me, I seek them. So this is kind of the attitude they have with us. They're bulldogging their way through here. And like I said, please continue contacting federal officials and blast their emails, phone calls, letters. Second thing is, I've got 3 clipboards being passed around this room. I want to get everybody's contact information. Like I said, we had 300 pamphlets that we passed out, and we had over 300 obviously here tonight. So I want to get those in your hands. Also, second thing is, I have a Facebook page that I will post what we brought at 300 here tonight. So tomorrow morning, we will post that, so you can go to my Facebook page to see exactly what we had listed. Number 4, I want one of those stop the high-speed trains for my house. And number 5, I just cannot say this enough. Montgomery County, let's unite. It's not just going to affect the West Montgomery County, Dobbin, Montgomery. It affects everybody in this room in the whole Montgomery County. So we don't want this train pushed, moved over. We just don't want this thing at all here in Texas.
Not at all.
By the way, in case you have not signed the petition, petitions have been going around. We need everybody's signature on the petition. Raise your hand right back. Yes, sir.
My name's Carl West, and my place is up at Dayton. I want to
County meeting, they had the federal government, they had TXDOT, they had the front of the Japanese company in Japan, and they also had the Japanese people there too, with the company. And the person most first there in that meeting was the county judge from Grimes County. So Craig, you might give that gentleman a call over, he is on top of it. But the right-of-ways they had picked there, the one comes right down Broken North and right through the middle of my face, goes down to Fort Dobbin and cuts back through the backside of the woodlands. The other one that they showed was west of Dobbin. It's a big fishing line going through there, and they were going to take 80 feet east of it and 80 feet west of Burlington Northern Tracks. So the clarification needs to be there, because I saw in that letter it's like 5 miles or something on either side, but they were talking about 80 feet. So you might contact those folks, and especially the judge over there. He has a whole lot of information on that, and that will help everybody. But this thing is going to be a major thing, and the federal government's got $10 billion, and that's all they have. It costs $30 billion to run that track, so we're stuck for 20 billion.
Okay, thank you, sir. Kevin Brady's got a representative here who would like to say a few words.
Hi all, my name is Katie Spivey. I'm here on behalf of Congressman Brady. He wishes he could be with Bill tonight, but I'm here on his behalf to say that the proposed routes that have gone up are not going to work for Mr. Brady. So he does not support taking people's land. He does not support putting up family ranches. And right now, we are in the process of getting more information. We are going to work with our state and local officials to try to answer those questions. Right now, we're having the same difficulty as everybody else in terms of getting information, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stop. These are all of the letters that I have received from people, and I encourage you to continue sending them to me because I sent them to Mr. Brady. So that's basically all I had to say, but he hears you.
Do you know if Kevin Brady is for stopping the train or moving the train?
I don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and ask him and get back to you on that. Yes, ma'am?
Other than written petitions that may be circulating around, I know some of us have signed the petition at change.org. Is everyone aware of that? And are there any other electronic ways to sign petitions? Is there anything else that we can do?
You can still get in touch with the FRA, and you can still get in touch with TXDOT. Just because the public comment period is closed doesn't mean that they're not still taking comments. So get in touch with FRA. Tell them that you don't like this rail project, and we're going to tell them the same thing. And real quick, I had a comment up here. You can send all of these to me. I'm pretty sure that my email address has been circulated around the group, but it's Katie, C-A-T-I-E, Spivey, S-P-I-V as in Victor, E-Y, at mail.house.gov. And my address, 200 River Point Drive, number 304, and that's Conroe. And I don't know the zip code off the top of my head. 77314. 04, sorry. All right, well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate seeing everybody.
My name is Carl Stuffler, and I'm a long-time Montgomery County resident, and fourth generation Texan. And I have a question that I didn't hear anyone of the representatives mention, and that is job creation. Will this high-speed rail create jobs for local Montgomery County residents?
Zero.
And the other part of my question is, there's another project similar, has a lot of similarities to this project, and that is the Keystone XL pipeline. As far as eminent domain and some of the other issues that were mentioned, and that it's going to be coming through Texas also. It's going to be bringing dirty Canadian shell oil from Canada through our county, to refineries in Port Arthur and places like that. And just how do the representatives feel about supporting the Keystone and not supporting the...
I think let's stay on topic. let's stay on topic. That's totally not what we're talking about here tonight, sir.
I'd like to ask you a question. Number one, to thank all of y'all for being here tonight. Should we also send letters to Governor Abbott and Dan Patrick?
Yes.
Them too?
It doesn't hurt,
All
absolutely.
right, okay, let's let them all.
Where's the microphone? Over here? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, my husband just informed me today, so I'm sorry for short notice and I don't have a lot of information. But I would like to invite everyone here, public officials as well, in Tomball this Friday from 11:30 to 1 at Tomball College in the Beckendorf room. Mr. Eccles will be presenting and having a session. And I bet he's not expecting any of you, and I would love for y'all to come. It's a public meeting. You may have...
Okay, when is that meeting again?
At the Tomball College.
When?
Friday, this Friday, from 11:30 to 1. You may have to purchase the luncheon, which is nominal, but it is a public meeting, so you are legally able to go. Please come.
Can you come and not eat?
What room, please?
The meeting is, Mr. Eccles is going to be speaking and answering questions, I think, about the Texas high-speed rail because he's supporting it and in favor of it. And
He's president of it.
yes, sir. And also, just so all of you know, Tomball is under the delusion that the railway will stop there. It is not proposed. That is not the plan. And you also need the gentleman that over here that asked something about jobs. No, the train's not going to bring us jobs. The train's going to go through and not stop. So you're going to be subjected to every single negative thing that could be, whether it's noise, entrapment, that you're not able to get out of your property is going to be devaluated. And it is very important that all the counties join together and work together.
Yes.
Thank you. Tomball College. Give us the address of that college. In the room.
I don't know. I can Google it if you give me a minute.
What's the room?
I think they
It's in
said
Beckendorf room.
Beckendorf. If you go to the college and the library and ask, they will give you directions.
If you can get to the college, you can find it.
We'll put all of that information on our Texas Central Facebook.
Okay, great. Next question.
Yes, sir. Hi, my name is Allison Hale, and I'm a Keller Williams Realtor and a proud Texas Realtor. My question is, are there any best practices that we can get from those communities that have gone before us that give us a map of what works and what doesn't, or what we can do differently at this time?
That's a good question.
Sure, look at the city of Houston and their light rail. I'll help a little bit with that. One of the things that's being done in some of the other counties is what they call a 391 commission. It's a state commission that can be established by two taxing entities in a particular region. Once they get into that, and I'm not speaking as a lawyer here, but that they can request or require coordination with TXDOT and with the any transportation projects, because they set up what they call a sub-regional planning commission. We don't even have one here. I know Grimes and Waller County have it. Some of the other counties, Leon County, and those are also looking into it. So that's one of the main things you can do, is encourage elected officials to work on the 391.
I'd like to make an announcement about another meeting that I learned about. There was an ad in one of the local magazines that there's a meeting planned for Thursday, March 19th, 6:30 p.m. the Lowman Student Center Ballroom of the Sam Houston State University in Huntsville. The ad has Robert Eccles, former judge and president of Texas Central High-Speed Railway, standing up there. It doesn't say he's going to be there, but he's in the ad. So you can contact Sam Houston for more information, but it's going to be at the Lowman Student Center Ballroom, March 19th, 6:30 p.m., Sam Houston State University.
Great, thank you. Next question. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like for somebody up on the panel there to explain to us about the eminent domain coming out of the federal government. And this is clearly a 10th Amendment issue, and who gave them the right to declare a private entity such as this to declare eminent domain on private property in a state, and who is going to stop it? Hopefully, Mr. Brady will be on top of that.
Okay, matter of fact, I asked Robert Eccles that very question. He said they are a certified railroad, and under existing federal law, they have already been qualified and certified as a railroad. And per existing federal law, they have the right of eminent domain, and they have that in writing. So I don't know much more than that, but that's what he told me. Maybe you can tell me, Will.
So, right over here. From my understanding, the TCR releasing a draft of the environmental impact statement for the two proposed routes. Once that's done, it will then go to the Surface Transportation Board, that of course is at the federal level. That is who has the power to give them, to granting them eminent domain power.
I don't want to contradict anybody here. I've actually had a conversation with the Surface Transportation Board lawyers, and what they're telling me is that once they get designated as a railroad, then they're sent back to the state of Texas as the railroad, and then they follow the laws of the state of Texas as it relates to eminent domain. Mike, is that the way you understand it?
Yeah, of the eminent domain laws of the state of Texas.
Right.
Now, if we as a legislature change those eminent domain powers, they would, yeah, I would love to clap for that too. The problem is federal law would preempt that because it would now take effect after they've already started the process. Had something been done previous before they started their process, we'd be saying something different.
Do you mind if I mention something real quickly about all these people here and the power of the press? So Violin Conservancy, I just want to share very quickly. It's a little bit different case, but many of you know that pipelines go through lots of places. Pipelines go through all over Texas, and we have a lot more coming through. And what we are fighting as land trust all throughout the state of Texas is tons and tons and tons of pipelines. So that is an issue in and of itself. This is a much bigger, wider issue, obviously, but it's still the same in that we had to fight, I will share with you, we had to fight a pipeline that had declared eminent domain status, and the legislature, thankfully, a few years ago, made it a little bit more difficult because they had to show common carrier status. Well, we made this group, we went all the way to court and made them show that they had common carrier status, and you know what? They were able to claim it. So we almost had no case, and our attorneys, don't say anything, were able, thinking that we were gonna lose, and we said, no. And we got the Houston Chronicle on top of that story. We brought them out to the preserve that this line was gonna plow through, and we showed them, here is this land that's been protected for federal wetland mitigation. Look at all the wetlands, look at all the animals, and here's the golf course next door that they didn't even ask to go underneath. And sure enough, the very next day, that pipeline went under the golf course, and they called them. And so this is nothing against golf, but I'm just sharing with you that it's really important for any of you that are willing to pull together. We are happy to work with you. I actually have a broadcast journalism degree, University of Texas, sorry for those don't bet it. But it's a good degree, and we've used it to our extent because these are elected officials that ultimately will make some of these decisions. And if they can see the absolute salt of the earth folks out here who are on this land trying to protect their land and who have the right to do so against a private entity, and they're trying to preserve their land, that's a story, and that's hard to beat.
We have one here. Question.
Mr. Metcalf.
Yes,
I believe a couple of legislative sessions ago, we addressed eminent domain for profit here in Texas and stopped it. Or Dan Patrick was sure blowing his horn saying he was going to stop eminent domain for profit. Since we did that a couple of sessions ago, would that block the federal eminent domain?
Sorry, I wasn't in the legislature then. There, 6 weeks now, but
Well, you're doing a good job. But I believe 2 sessions ago that was addressed. That eminent domain for profit was blocked here in Texas. So with that,
Senate Bill 18.
Senate Bill 18. Thank you.
Judge Doyle's gonna take it.
I think that one was blocked for private use. You're gonna take land and use it for commercial value, for economic development. It was blocked for that reason.
So that, our state law made with Bill 18 wouldn't block the federal eminent domain.
Not sure on that question, but that's a law that goes back, giving the railroads that authority back to the 1800s at the federal level. So I don't know if that would preempt that, just the state law or not. No, the state law did block it for economic development.
Okay. And Mr. Lorenz, for your benefit, we're all for the horns today.
Okay, next.
If they get their way, what kind of time frame are they talking about?
Their goal was to have this ready for passenger travel in 20 to 21. So we're looking at 5 to 6 years. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Ken Wagner. I live out west of Montgomery, just west of Mr. West over there, dignitary. This thing's supposed to cut right through my property. How did the public comment period close without anybody hearing about the public comment?
Exactly.
That's the question where everybody up here, everybody in the panel is asking. We've had no scoping meetings. We've had no notices. I was county judge until January the 1st, 2015. I heard about it through word of mouth.
All right, I've got one other thing for you, Judge. I'm a military man for 30-some odd years. One thing you have to know is your enemy and your enemy's capabilities to fight. Their biggest weapon is this eminent domain. Probably our biggest weapon we've got to fight this, as much as I hate to see it, is the environmental people.
You may be right.
That's the biggest stick in the world. All right.
Okay, next question. Yes.
Thank you, Judge Fowler. I do agree with you that one of our biggest allies against the railroad would be environmental, but I do have a question for the lady. So you're suggesting that we get a, what do you call it, conservation easement?
Well, since this is a long haul thing, yes, I would suggest that. As much as you can.
Okay, and how long does the conservation easement last?
Forever.
Okay.
And the issue.
So okay, I'm repeating a little bit here. So let's say I have a couple hundred acres and I get a conservation easement. It's great, it shuts this train down. And then big oil lease comes through and they want to put some nice big derricks, that they want to do other things. We want to develop this. My children want to sell it. I'm telling you people, let's not go the route of the environmentalists.
Just a
It
second.
will lock their land up.
So I'm not here just to state our case. I will share with you that there are a number of private landowners in this area. If any of you know Foster Madeley in this area, he knows us quite well. He's a longtime person here. He knows us. He's on our advisory board, so I don't think Foster would be on a group that's wanting to take property rights. He's a real estate attorney. So just a second. Really quickly, because this is important. This is a very important venue for us. We don't generally get to talk to this many landowners. I want to share. You can sell your land. If your land is large enough, you can subdivide your land later. There are federal and state, estate, E-S-T-A-T-E, federal and estate income tax benefits that accrue to you if you do something like this. There are also grants out there where we can buy your development rights. We are in this for the long haul. I am not here tonight to try to sign up everybody on a conservation easement. It's a long process. We want anyone and everyone to think about this. What I am offering for people here tonight who we don't have a conservation easement with. We have one with Edie Stewart. We have some other families that in the area. We wanted, I don't know if the Poole family, P-O-O-L-E, is above. You know, we have some people that we've tried to work with in the past. We are not takers of land in any shape or fashion. This is something that is catered to the private landowners. You can keep your ag on it. You can keep any type of agricultural, whatever that is. We are happy with that. The issue is trying to protect the land in its natural state as much as possible, and that includes a number of uses. It does not include a high-speed rail going through it, okay? And so what we would like to say, this is a very personal thing for people, whether they would want to do it, but I'm offering here tonight, from what I just said a minute ago, any of you who know your neighbors, and this is a great opportunity to get to know your neighbors more, if you don't, we would love to work with you, get out on your land and talk to you, get you talking to your neighbors, and a few of you agree to even think about a conservation easement. We can talk about that publicly if you're willing, and you can say, hey, these are people who want to set aside their land. Because when you work as a group on any of this, you're going to have a much bigger impact. That's just the case.
One of the proposed routes comes within about a mile of my property. The property's been in my family for about 50 years. And it's my understanding that this gentleman here is part of the TRC, part of this that's wanting to come through. And I think we should give him an opportunity to tell us 3 good things that could benefit those of us living in Montgomery County with this thing coming through our property, because I can't think of one.
Well, Dave, you want to speak, but it's up to you, whatever you want to do. Okay. I think David came to speak. We spoke earlier before the meeting, and he's here to listen. Next question.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I've only been in Montgomery now for
Hold your microphone up.
I've only been in Montgomery now for 6 months. We just built our house. I just looked at your map. This rail line goes right through the back of my property.
Hold it up.
I've only been here 6 months, and I just looked at the map, and this goes right through the back of my property. This is crazy. I'm almost willing to sell my soul to the devil and do the equal. I mean, this is for me personally. This has been my lifelong dream, is to buy some property.
Exactly.
I mean, I came to this because I didn't know where it was going. I'm shocked. I'm from Massachusetts. You can't get property. I moved to Texas, and now I'm about to get my property taken from me.
No, you're not.
You don't know Texas, right?
By the way, how many people in this room are directly affected by this railroad? Wow. Okay, yes, sir.
My name is Thurman Irving. I'm a resident of Southwest Montgomery County. I've lived here for 4 years. I'm an elected director of my homeowners association. I'm also a retired PhD engineer. I formerly worked in airport noise monitoring systems. You told us in your message that this thing will make noise like a 737 jet. Airports are required by law to mitigate noise. They make a tremendous amount of noise. They affect property values. They affect the quality of life for those who live within the sound of their airplanes. And I know you don't know the answer, but I want to know what this project is doing to mitigate noise and to compensate homeowners who will be affected by the noise.
What about the animals?
And the animals. And does this thing really make noise like a 737? That's terrible.
I was told specifically tonight by David with the rail, TCR, that my statement was incorrect. I don't know, but I have been told by people that have ridden trains just like this. Matter of fact, Judy Foster has ridden a train, and she says it sounds like that. So I don't know what the truth is. I have never heard one.
George and
have ridden the high-speed train from Calais, France to Paris. I can tell you it is very noisy. I'm sorry, sir, I don't know where you are, but you need to go ride a train. We have also ridden the Acela, which is the high-speed train from Washington, D.C. to New York City. And I will tell you that also is a noisy train. And folks, we're not talking about one train a day. We have kind of done the numbers, and I'm old and a little bit senile, but what we're coming up with is about 60 trains a day.
I trust everyone here will appreciate the position I'm in. I have been authorized to, forgive me, my name is David Bencione. I'm the Director of Communications with Texas Central Railway, and my lucky job is to come to meetings like this and hear your concerns and take those back to the people who don't come to meetings like this. And I do that. I've had many conversations with Kyle here, and I think we've developed a professional relationship, even though obviously we're on two very different sides of this issue. And I'm happy to talk to people one-on-one or in small groups afterwards. I'll stay here quite late. In fact, I know that there are some folks here who can testify to that very fact. We do want to get more information out, and I apologize that more information has not come before now. Just to quickly address the sound issue, simply because I have a specific bit of information on that. If you are standing 100 feet away from an 18-wheeler, your typical American 18-wheeler, and it drives past you and there's nothing in between you, that's 85 decibels. If you're standing 100 feet away from this Shinkansen-style train and there's nothing in between you, it's 65 decibels. I don't know, I will take a look. But my understanding is that's at the full operating speed, but I'll double check on that, okay? But again, and there will be mitigation steps taken.
Can you address vibration?
But there are steps that are taken to address the vibration, and the only thing I would add on that is, because we've had people get online, they Google, they start coming up with these reports about vibrations. This technology that we would be using is very different than other high-speed rail systems. And as well, there were some vibration issues when the Shinkansen first started operating in 1964, and Japan passed sort of a wide-ranging sound and vibration reform law, got much stricter about it, in 1974. The technology has evolved. So I'd only ask you to think about the advances that we've made in fuel efficiency for cars since 1964, or the advances that we've made in computing power since 1964. At least when you get online, make sure that you're looking at data related to current Shinkansen sound and vibrations as opposed to the initial sound and vibrations in 1964. I'm happy to stay afterwards. I'm here to listen, but thank you for giving me an opportunity.
Can I ask you a question before you leave? How are you going to secure this train from here to Dallas? Meaning 200 miles an hour, if terrorists or, anybody wants to cause harm to that train, and after it has 2 or 3 wrecks because of that, then they'll close the train down, and all these properties that have been taken up and all this will be for naught. And I just don't understand how you can secure a train track from here to Dallas that's going 200 miles an hour. And I think it's going to be a big problem. I think our counties are going to have to pay for it, and us taxpayers are going to have to pay for it. And then once it goes bad, y'all will walk away from it, and we'll be left with it. And all this history of Texas. My life stayed in the first 300, it came to Texas. And all this history we have with family ranches and farms will be gone at that point. Because once you split a piece of property, more than likely that rancher is going to sell it. And I don't understand how you can secure a train like that.
I appreciate the question. Here's what I'll try to do. Because again, I can talk here for hours, and I guarantee you're all going to walk away unconvinced and dissatisfied with my answers. I will try to get out some brief points to address things, and I hope that we can then use them for additional conversations later this evening, or to get in contact with us directly, and we can try to get more information out as well. Well, hold on. I want to try to address a couple of these issues. When it comes to the security and safety of the system has operated in Japan for over 50 years now. There's never been a loss of life accident with it. It's a unified system. There is fencing. There are security cameras. There's security monitors. Obviously, just think about it as a private business. It's not in our best business interest for us to have a product that's unsafe for people to get on. I can tell you this: there will be ways for people to get across this. I'm not saying they're going to be happy with the fact that it's coming across, but this is not like, I'm going to make a statement, I know you're going to disagree. This is not like the Trans-Texas Corridor, where you were going to have to drive 10 miles down the road in order to make a U-turn and come back to get to the other side of your field. There will be multiple, convenient, accessible ways, large ways, to get animals, farm equipment across, for police, fire, EMS, school buses to get across. I can't, we are paying for that. Hold on a second. People get, everyone can pay. I can't tell you exactly, but far close enough?
A mile?
No.
2 miles? Half a mile.
Closer to.
You're
Sir?
not going to shut down our county roads that our fire, EMS, and police rely on.
That's what I'm telling you.
You're every road intact, and you'll cross it, or you'll put an overpass over it.
I am telling you, a lot of these details have to be worked out, and again, I'm with the communications office, I'm not with the engineering office, so we need to figure out a way to get the people who can give you a concrete answer.
Well, you said you'll provide. Now, I'm going to tell you, every officer in this room, I've seen a lot of cops, they rely on those roads. The ambulance relies on those roads. The fire department relies on those roads. Seconds count.
Okay, Stephen, he's gonna stay after the meeting, I'm gonna be gone.
Good.
But let's continue with the questions.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, I have one.
Yes.
Sorry, I know you're under a lot of pressure here. I appreciate you taking the time to speak. I know that we're all saying, and that is my impression, is we're saying we don't want high-speed rail anywhere in Texas. But I know originally there were other routes proposed, and one of them was directly down the 45 corridor. That route, and back in February of 2014, like February 12th, Community Impact paper had Mr. Eccles, who is the president of the Texas Central Railway, by the way, stating that there were 3 proposed routes, one along Highway 290, one along Highway 59, and one along I-45. Now, at that time, he said on a final decision on which route is most feasible for a high-speed rail line could come soon. Now, and at that point, he said there are no fatal flaws in any of the routes. However, since that time, we all know that obviously there was a fatal flaw somewhere, because 45 has been just completely discounted, and now this BNSF route and the utilities route has been chosen. Those are the ones that affect Montgomery County. That's the BNSF one, and the Grimes is the utility route. So, what happened that made that decision just completely go away for 45? Not that I'm still saying that's probably the one I don't want it here, but I'd much rather see it go down the existing corridor if it had to be here.
Again, I'll try to answer the best that I can. I know it's not going to satisfy, but I will try to get more information that relates to it later on. From what I've been told, as the analysis went further, that's an example of how I know I'm not being as specific as you'd like. But as the analysis went further, when you drive down I-45, it appears to all of us to be fairly straight. Okay, and it curves a little bit, but whatever. But when you're trying to engineer a high-speed rail line, it has too many curves. And so what would happen is we might start elevated, let's say, on the right side feeder road, and then we get a bit of the ways down, and we cross halfway across 45, and then we come out back again off to the right and take out 100 buildings. In terms of the construction delays, that it would cause people who are trying to drive down 45. People don't think about it, but actually San Houston Forest is a protected environmental area, so that had all sorts of environmental impacts. So there were a whole host of factors. I mean, frankly, we would love to go down 45 because then we have fewer meetings like this, right? I mean, we wanted to make that work. And on top of that, from our perspective, it would be great advertising because we really do believe that these trains offer a superior travel option, and so we would love to have people like stuck in traffic on 45 while our train is zipping past them. But to the extent that I can answer the question, and I'm sorry I don't have more specific information, further analysis was done, and the numbers just didn't,
Basically cost.
it was a cost issue, and we don't apologize for that. Look, some people, many people here don't want high-speed rail. We understand that. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people that do. And so, in theory, a 45.
Okay, we had to answer the question. We need to move on.
Judge.
Yes. Who has
Microphone. Back here.
Yes, go ahead.
Got a comment, one question, I'll leave it at that. First, that a young fellow just came in from Massachusetts. Welcome to Texas. And don't fret none, because we don't put up with this sort of stuff. The question is for the appraiser. Those of us that are directly impacted by this potentially happening, something going to happen to my property value right now, before this thing gets approved.
Already happened.
Already happened.
Already happened. You got a disclosure factor if you try to market your property that you'll have to tell the potential buyer. You also have a problem with potential financing available on your property or lender. It's already there.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. The train is going to take 45 minutes to get to Dallas. You're going to have to drive an hour to Houston to get on the train. The plane takes you 45 minutes to fly to Dallas. Whatever. I'm just saying, the price of the ticket for the train is going to be as much, if not more, than the price of the airplane ticket. I don't know what kind of numbers you're doing, mister, but I don't see how any of this makes any sense.
Where's the petition? Desi, can you get them a petition over here? Okay, let's do about 5-6 more minutes of questions, then we'll wrap it up. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jeanette Winkleman. Some of you in this room know who I am, and I represent the parties in this that can't talk. I'm the president of Friends of Texas Wildlife, and we take in 4,000 to 5,000 animals at absolutely no charge that are injured in a 6-county area surrounding Montgomery County. You cannot put up a sign so that an eagle knows not to fly down on the track and get something that's roadkill. You cannot protect the wildlife and the things that represent Texas. You cannot put a sign up for a cow or a bird or any other wildlife that I'm aware of. This is an enormous issue, and who's going to pay for those that can't vote? They have no voice. And I'm pretty sure I'm not going to live long enough to support this wildlife in my lifetime that is going to kill, and it just makes me sick. So please think about not only your land, but what it's going to do to the future of our wildlife and to our animals of this area. And I think everybody here has got some of that with wildlife and animals, correct?
So isn't this issue...
I'm just a little person, but I got a big problem here. I don't have enough cages to take care of about 40,000 animals, and I don't want to do it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please reconsider.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have something to say real quick. I take the condo paper and I also take my
Montgomery paper, and it was only through word of mouth that I heard about this meeting. And not only that, but the gentleman up here said he hopes he doesn't have to attend more meetings like this. Well, I hope he does, because, and I think we need to all find out where these meetings are going to be, but the papers are not telling us. So.
Ma'am, it's because there hadn't been any meetings like this in this county. This is the first one.
Well, I think there's going to be one at the Pizza Shack that's down on 336 and 45.
Well,
But I don't even know the date.
I'm not aware of that, but this is
And that
the
was
first
word of
meeting,
mouth.
this is the first formal meeting regarding high-speed rail I'm aware of in this county. It was right here tonight.
So isn't the issue that we're dealing with them right here in the corner?
Yes, sir.
So isn't this issue eminent domain? Usually it's for public transportation, but this is for private companies. And I think that's the real key here. I think we need to fight it on that level of the state Tenth Amendment issue.
Thank you, sir.
Can you find out the date that a route will be selected? We've heard February 20th, so we'd like to know if that's true or not. Something more than an email would be good, because we haven't been able to get in touch with anyone at Texas Central Railroad.
And by the way, if you could move that date up, we'd appreciate it. Fun. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Happy Chris Powell Day to fellow Texans. Be as brief and concise as I can. My grandfather was the second of 10 children. Went through the Depression, volunteered for the United States Army in the 1940s. Fought all the way from Casablanca, North Africa, D-Day invasion. Had 5 combat jumps with 82nd Airborne Division. He endured the Battle of Bulge. Got Silver Stars, 3 Bronze Stars. Took several casualties. I believe he had 4 Purple Hearts. All the way to capturing Berlin. Had to stand down while the Russians took 3 days to come in there and actually, quote unquote, take it because of their political agreement during that time. He had fought all the way from Africa all the way to capturing that place. Well, anyways, he got out of the war after victory in Europe. He came back here to Texas City, got him a job working for a welding company down there, and lo and behold, he got blown up in the Texas City explosion by the Grand Comp. 9 months he was in recovery. He met and married his nurse. They carried on the tradition of his parachuting. He was a paratrooper with 82nd Airborne. They carried that on. They used to parachute out here, skydive, static line off of biplanes, walking out on boards. They found a little old place off of Jackson Road. They were married for 57 years. They called it the K-Bar Inn Ranch. We've been there since early 60s, 1962, founded. My daughter right here is the 5th generation of our family on that property. I intend to pass it on to her. That proposed rail line will go 300 feet from our house. We live 100 feet from Lake Creek. That man went through a whole lot to find that little old piece of land that we live on, we call our home. And I guarantee you one thing about Chris Kyle, and that old shirt I see back over there, never quit. That's Marcus Luttrell. He fought all the way through Operation Red Wing. The one thing I found out about the spirit of the American man that wants to fight for what he believes in, for what he has, and wants to keep what he has, he will never quit. As long as you're in the fight, you're gonna win. You do not give in to anybody anytime whatsoever. You never quit fighting for what you believe in. I guarantee you 5 generations of my family are not gonna lay down and let some government entity come in and take over something from me or somebody's private entity to make money off of. God bless all our county officials. We love y'all. We're behind you 100%. Any way we can help, we will do it. You got our American blood in here, and we're here to fight for you and with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that.
I just wanted to say, there's nothing as good as neighbor talking to neighbor, and that's why there's a lot of us that are here. A lot of our elected officials didn't even know about it. Nothing against them, but that's because the government, the federal government's keeping it quiet. So before we leave, I just want to reiterate what you've told us. We've got a lot of addresses and email addresses here, but I guess, should we be going to notexascentral.com? We've got wonderful commissioners here with Facebook pages. We've seen them all. Will's got an active Facebook page, but can we get at least a temporary sort of kind of plan of how we can leave here tonight, find out where the next meeting is? Some of these people know about meetings that no one else does, and maybe they can go post something on Facebook, on a website, something of that nature.
Let me tell you what I think the next step will be. Today is February 2nd. I think we're going to probably wait until the 20th of February and hear the selected route choice. If the Montgomery County route choice is chosen, we need to have an immediate meeting, collect money, and go for it all the way. If they pick this route, and by the way, I don't want them to pick the Grimes County route either. I'm definitely opposed to the project. But if they pick this route, we've got to come together with checkbook in hand, and everybody contributes something to hire the lawyers, the right lawyers, to make something happen. We cannot sit idly by.
We have a county lawyer.
And Commissioner Doyal, we're going to take you up on your statement. We're going to need those county attorneys to really start working immediately on our behalf. And, yes, sir.
Just briefly, I just got here. I apologize if I say things that have already been said. We own property that is about 300 feet from where this train is proposed to go. I pastor a church here in town, and we love this country. We love this county. We love everything about it. I appreciate all of our officials here today. I tell people I've made a living preaching, but I got ahead buying and selling real estate. And everything I have is tied up into my property. And I know a lot of people are like this. I just encourage you, and I'll get behind everybody and help them as well. This isn't right. This rail just proves that common sense is very uncommon. Whatever we can do to help, I think it's pretty much unanimous. This is not a healthy thing for the community. It just doesn't make sense.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pastor Randy Weaver back here with the Cowboy Church.
I was a sermon tonight one time, so I'm not going to preach again. But let's be faithful to what's right. Let's do the right thing here. And this isn't right. It's just not right. And our country is going a direction that we don't really need to be going. And this is testimony of that. So if we don't stand up for the right things, the wrong things will take over.
Randy, thank you for coming tonight. We need your church involved. We need your church involved.
That's my husband, and I've been trying to get Mike, and I can't get him.
He's tired. He's just preached a sermon. What he actually meant to say is that railroad cuts through our entire piece of property diagonally, because the whole west side of our property is the railroad. And it's actually going to end up 300 yards from our house that we just built and moved into last year. We're going to open up our eyes every morning and look out the back window and see your railroad coming all the way across our property if y'all win. And we do not want you to win, because the vibrations may hurt whatever, but I can tell you right now, we have a wood duck roost that goes all the way down the east side of our property that they're not going to stick around when your train comes through there 205 miles an hour. We're also landlocked. So when you were talking about landlocked property, we are the only people, sir, that is going to cross a railroad at that location. There is 2 houses there, and we're landlocked. So you guys are actually going to put in a way for us to get through there when the only people that are going to be bothered by this is 2 families? And there's no police, there's nobody that's going to get to us if you guys don't put in a decent railroad crossing there for us. 2 families? I don't see how anybody cares.
Basically, your house is 300 feet, you said? 300 yards.
300 feet.
If you're, hey, that's 1 football field. You can't, I hate to say it, you can't live in that house. I mean, it's uninhabitable. That's right, that's right. Yes, Desi?
We'll be putting all of the events that have been mentioned tonight on our Facebook page and on the website. All of the information that's been shared, all of the handouts that we ran out of, thankfully, all of that will be going on our website and on the Facebook page. NoTexasCentral.com.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. There are 2 things.
Okay, we'll do 2 more. I mean, you 2.
Yes.
Go ahead.
There are 2 things that I wanted to point out. Our new Texan from Massachusetts, may I highly suggest that you get with whomever represented you concerning a disclosure statement that may or may not have been available to you. I know you mentioned correctly a disclosure factor, so it was 6 months ago. I don't know when exactly the timeline is of this hitting the news, but that would be something that I would highly suggest you finding out as far as the disclosure factor. And the other thing, I'm a proud Texas Aggie, my BBA is in marketing. And so I would highly suggest, especially with my fellow Longhorn, since she has her broadcast journalism degree, that I'm proposing some type of a marketing that would be the faces of high-speed rail, and that some of the gentlemen that spoke this evening here very emotionally and very strongly be the faces of high-speed rail.
I understand that you wanted to wait till February 20th when they make a decision as to what route they're going to take. I would like to know what we can do in the interim to make some waves to try to influence that decision before they do it.
Well, I think that's been discussed already tonight. Write letters to, number 1, our U.S. senators have been totally uninvolved in the process. Senator Ted Cruz, John Cornyn need letters, need emails, need phone calls. They are not in the loop on what we're talking about here tonight.
Ted Cruz had a representative at the Grimes County meeting.
Well, he didn't have one at the Montgomery County meeting. Now, I wish he did.
I wish that the other counties had this good of representation of the citizens.
Well,
And I also wish that you would really reconsider getting Texas, the entire counties affected, to band together, because you're really insistent on keeping it out of Montgomery County, but this is a Texas.
That's right. That's right.
Ted Cruz is thinking about running for president. It's no lost. People know that he's not a real big fan of Obama, so let's give him some fun. Let's pick him up.
that's fine. Also, let me, if you want very specifics, Michael Johnson to the Federal Railroad Administration. Write him a letter. Let me give you his address. It's 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast, MS 20, Washington, D.C., 20590. Desi will have that. Desi, can you put that on the website?
All of the information, all the addresses will be on the website and on the Facebook page.
Great.
And all of the events that we haven't mentioned, with that there, so that's something that we can do before February 20th. We can attend all of these events, we can make our voices heard, and we can expect a response from Texas Central Railway, because as Judge Sadler said just a few minutes ago, this is the first meeting in Montgomery County County that was organized by local residents. Texas Central Railway did not find it important enough to come to Montgomery County to tell us what their plans were for the county.
Thank you, Desi. By the way, Desi's done a lot of work on this. Judy Foster's done a lot of work. Let's give them a hand. And I want to thank the Commissioners Court. Each commissioner came, the county judge came, Judge Doyal, thank you for coming. Will Metcalf, Mark Keo, thank you all for coming. This concludes our meeting tonight.
What do you need?
First of all, your name?
Craig Doyal, County Judge.
Tell me the outcome of the number of people out here today, what the opposition is.
Well, it's obvious that people are concerned about private property rights. They're concerned about the loss of long-standing ranch lands and the disruption to the environmental process that will occur with this high-speed rail.
What about the opposition? I mean, you've got a lot of opposition here. You've got 11 other counties opposing this.
Yeah, we've got county judges from across this region that I've been in contact with and will continue to stay in contact with as we continue to voice our opposition to the FRA and to our federal legislators.
How far will Montgomery County go on fighting this?
Well, we're going to go all the way to the end. We heard the voices of the people here in Montgomery County. I'm going to get our county attorney's office involved. We're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure we shut this project down.
First of all, your name?
Desi Porter.
Spell your first and last name.
DESI, Porter, PORTER.
Tell me a little bit about the organization and what y'all are hoping to do.
Sure. We are just a group of local residents here in Montgomery County. When Texas Central Railway did not have a meeting in Montgomery County, we took it upon ourselves to get together to share information with our neighbors, not just in Montgomery County, but surrounding areas, because when we found out how greatly we would be impacted by this project, we knew that we needed to share that information and try to get as many people involved in the process with opposing the high-speed rail going through our county.
What a big turnout tonight.
Yeah, we were expecting about 150 to 200 people, so we are very pleased that we had over 800 people here.
Thanks. First of all, your name, sir?
Randy Weaver.
Spell your first and last name for me.
RANDYWEAVER.
How is this railroad going to affect you?
Well, the railroad, the proposed plan for Montgomery County is that the railroad will come within 300 feet of our house. We have about 100 acres where we're at. It'll come right through the bottom part of the south part of our property. It'll come up right by our house. And it's going to mess everything up. I mean, everything that we've built up over the last 30 years will be for naught because it'll devaluate every bit of our property. And I'm not just for not having it in Montgomery. I don't want it in Grimes County either. It's a bad idea. It just proves that common sense is very uncommon these days.
What about you got wildlife around your place too?
We do. We've got wood ducks. We've got deer. We saw a golden eagle or a bald eagle the other day, and it's not going to be good for the environment. It's not going to be good for the wildlife. It's not going to be good for the people. Why would we do this? It just doesn't make sense. You can get to Dallas a lot faster by driving than you can just by getting on this high-speed rail. If we got to drive back to Houston to get on it.